Hello and welcome to Who Killed Who. If you did not know, my name is Lauren. I was thinking about it and I'm not sure if I have ever actually introduced myself on this channel. But today we will be covering a case that is currently unsolved. We are diving into the strange circumstances of a beloved doctor named Devon Hoover and how he was found dead in his mansion's attic crawlspace. This is a very strange ongoing case that authorities claim they are close to an arrest in. Without further ado, let's talk about it. Dr. Devon Allen Hoover was born on November 18th in 1969 in Elkhart, Indiana. He was the fourth child out of a family of 7 children. He was the only boy out of 7 children and was known to be a loving and doting brother to all 6 of his sisters. Later in life, he would live a very glamorous existence, but in his early years, he was no stranger to manual labor. His family owned a dairy farm, and he was regularly helping to milk the cows, take care of crops, and several other chores, always willing to lend a helping hand. His later love for gardening was said to have started when he was a teenager. His parents allowed him to have his own garden in the backyard. It became one of his favorite hobbies to tend to it every day. Even though Devon could have taken over his family farm that he loved dearly, he had an even stronger passion for helping people and knew that he wanted to become a doctor. He would graduate from the Indiana University School of Medicine in 1996. He would then move to Detroit, Michigan to complete his residency at the Henry Ford Hospital. Dr. Hoover thrived in his career path, and his patients could feel his passion and knew he wanted to help them. This is unfortunately all too rare, and he was known for his bedside manner and his attention to people. When his patients spoke with him, he intently listened. Dr. Hoover would decide to go into one of the hardest lines of healthcare, and that was to become a neurosurgeon that specialized in neck and back disorders. Year after year, he was voted as one of Detroit's top doctors. Here are 2 quotes from his beloved patients. A high school teacher named Cheryl Lever had a severely arthritic back, and in 2022, Dr. Hoover operated on her. She stated, "I woke up the next morning and I didn't have pain anymore." He was amazing. Eric Krentzkamp was desperate for spinal help, and he had been to many doctors and ended up being referred to Dr. Hoover as being the best. Here is his quote. "I literally broke down in his office crying because I didn't even know what to do. He says I couldn't even walk. Dr. Hoover said, 'We're going to fix you. You're in good hands.' And if it wasn't for him, I would have never been able to walk again." He was kind of a miracle worker. Not only was he amazing and caring with his patients, but his heart was also so big that he was known for even performing free surgeries on desperate people that had no money for it. Dr. Hoover saved for years and finally bought his dream home in 2008. This gorgeous, sprawling 9-bedroom mansion was built in 1915. It is said that this home was on a beautiful, quiet, tree-lined street in a historic area of Detroit. His home became his pride and joy. The caring man was not married and did not have any children. It is said by many that his favorite hobbies included spending hours and hours tracking down valuable art and antiques and filling his home with them. His friends, family, and his neighbors would say that the home became a museum of sorts, and any time that he acquired an exciting new piece, he would invite several people over for wine, and so he could share his excitement with them. He had a passion to bring the 13,000 square foot old house back to life. He would even allow his home to be used for social events and fundraisers. Keeping the house meticulous, not just on the inside, but paying just as much attention to the exterior and, of course, the hedges and the gardens. He still loved to use the green thumb that he had developed long ago. His obituary would even state that his hedges were his specialty. His friends would even threaten him with burning them down when he would say no to plans because it was a common occurrence for him to say, "I can't come, I need to trim my hedges." All in all, it seemed like the good doctor was living his very best life. That was until he did not show up for a family function in Indiana and he would not answer any calls or text. Dr. Devon Hoover was known to be an extremely reliable person, and when he said he would be somewhere, he would be. His no-show immediately sent up red flags with those attending the gathering, and a relative called the police and requested a welfare check to be done right away. At 8:13 p.m. on the evening of April 23, 2023, the Detroit police went to Dr. Hoover's mansion. They banged on the door several times and got no response at all. After walking around the outside of the property, things fell off to the officers. They tried the front door. Being unlocked, they went into the premises. Now, things are still very vague about what the police witnessed inside, but they saw something that led them to keep searching all the way up to the top floor and then to the attic crawl space. The attic is located on the third story in the home. The Detroit police are being very tight-lipped, but I am now wondering and envisioning a possible blood trail because that would have been such a random place to just go in a massive house. When they did open the crawl space, they found the beloved 53-year-old doctor that had dedicated his last 27 years to taking others' pain away, dead. The poor man was naked with only one black sock on his foot. He was face down and had been wrapped in a sheet, a comforter, and a rug. He had passed away from 2 gunshot wounds to the back of his head. Immediately, the crime scene investigators flooded the scene, and the community was shocked and devastated in a complete, unbelievable state of confusion. The investigation was started before his funeral was even planned, but a week after he was found, the people closest to him and a huge number of people from the community put on a beautiful funeral for him. And would you believe that someone was actually brazen enough to break into his home during it? While everyone around seemed to be giving their respects, an unknown assailant broke through the window in the back of the home for reasons unknown. What makes things even stranger is that, again, this home had extremely expensive things throughout the whole property, and not only during the murder, but during the break-in, the police did not say that anything was stolen. That is weird, and it leaves people to wonder if the murderer had come back for something, and if that is the case, wow, that is brazen. Shortly after everything, a press conference was held and James E. White, who is the chief of the Detroit Police Department, spoke. He stated that this was not a random act. He said that his department's homicide unit was investigating day and night and that they were confident that the victim and the perpetrator knew each other. He also let the public know that they are offering a $1,000 reward for any information. Very soon after this press release, a person of interest was taken in, but then quickly released after, and since no one else has been arrested. But then the autopsy report came out and things got very interesting. Not only was it known that he had 2 shots to his head, it was found out that the first had hit him right above and behind the right ear. This alone would have incapacitated him, but it was not from a close range. The second shot was so close that there was a partial muzzle imprint on the edge of the wound. This means that whoever did this had walked up to him and on the second attempt made sure that there was no chance for him to survive. The next thing that we learned is that wherever this had taken place in the home, his body had actually been dragged face down all the way up to the 3rd floor. That would take so much strength to be able to do that. And I was wondering how a woman could possibly do that. And then it came out that Dr. Hoover openly preferred men. Still though, a man doing this alone, it could be possible, but unlikely, begging the question, was there more than one guilty person? The autopsy also said that they had taken fingernail clippings and an R-word kit was done, and we are still waiting for the DNA from everything to come back. When I start thinking about everything and what I have heard from the interviews of the experts, it is pretty obvious that Dr. Hoover knew this person, and it would appear that it would be an intimate partner. I wonder if when the police went in the home, if they saw the remains of a dinner for two. I also think about the fact that he was found naked, and it appears that nothing was taken. And the last but not least clue that points to this was how his face was covered. Psychologists often point this out as being a sign of remorse from a killer not being able to look at someone that they knew in that kind of state. And not only was he covered once, but with 3 different pieces of material. And then you have to think about how big this beautiful mansion was. Yes, he had several people in and out of it, but come on. How many people at parties break away to sneak around on the 3rd floor to find an attic door? This shows that it was someone who is very familiar with the house's layout. It also shows from the little information we know that the person was not in a hurry. If they were willing to drag his body all the way up to the 3rd floor and even ballsy enough to come back and break in after the house was a crime scene, they were comfortable in that house. Now, one of the reasons this case is popping up so much right now, even though it happened in April, is because another press conference was held at the end of August. The police decided to make a questionable decision by making a statement that they would have an announcement in this case before the snow hit the ground. Being that it is in Michigan, the snow tends to fall there pretty early. And now the friends and the family of the victim are getting very impatient and they are ready to hear an announcement. Experts do believe that the detectives are very close to making an arrest, but they are crossing every T and dotting every I on their suspects, and that they are determined not only to get the right man, but to get them convicted the right way without any chance of doubt. I truly hope that this is the case and that this amazing man who dedicated his life to those in pain will receive justice as soon as possible. I will be watching this case very closely. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe to let me know that this case is a case that you would like me to give you updates on. And with that, I will see you in the next one when we find out who killed who.